As some of you may have seen, I was on the recent episode of Fit vs. Fat on Jubilee.
I find it interesting that they can lock us up in their homes for almost 2 years saying wear a mask, etc. But then I say, I'm gonna lock these dudes up in a concentration camp where we're gonna get them healthy food, we're gonna get them exercising, and I'm looked at as crazy.
Not that one, this one.
If you see me, you consider me obese?
I wouldn't say that you're obese, but it's like medically, you know.
So like for example.
So you're medically obese though?
No,
Yes.
It was an all-woman panel, and this is the second time Jubilee has done this rendition of Fit vs. Fat. And I just wanted to give a little bit deeper dive into my experience doing it, because a lot of people have a lot of things to say. I was a part of such an important conversation to have, honestly. So I'm gonna do a deep dive into each of the prompts and give you a little bit more context, because the video was only 45 minutes, you guys. We shot for around 2 hours, and it was a 4-hour day in total. If you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Alyssa. I am a fitness content creator, and I have lost around 60 pounds naturally in less than a year. This is me before, and this is me now. And make sure you guys watch until the very end of the video, because I'm gonna be reading some of the comments, the good, the bad, and the flat out just rude. But I am gonna read some of the comments, because people who comment, I respect the comments, good or bad. So I'm gonna share at the end of the video, so make sure you stick around for that. All right, before we get into each prompt, there's important things to know. The conversation itself was around 2 hours long. The edit ended up being 44 minutes. Personally, I do feel like the edit was pretty spot on. You know how sometimes when you watch like a reality television show, they'll be like, oh, I blame the edit, that's not what's happened. It didn't feel like they really chopped anything up. They didn't really put any words in certain people's mouths. Like they didn't have someone say one thing and then cut to something else. Like it was pretty consistent with the actual conversation that was had. Also, we didn't have any conversations prior, and we are advised to not speak to any of the women. And I think that's just because they don't want you maybe making friends or kind of just they don't want any conversations prior, because when you arrive on set, you're set down, you don't know these women, and they ask the prompt, and then you're kind of just thrown into it. So we didn't talk at all before we started shooting. All the women were very sweet, despite even if we had conflicting views or opinions. I thought that they were all really nice, and I even follow some of them now, and it was good to kind of connect. I will include all those women's socials down below, and let's get into it.
Your physique is in your control. Will the agreeers please step forward?
You know, there's a lot of different illnesses around. So I have family members that have like thyroids, and they can't gain weight or they can't lose weight. But I think that they can manage to stay at a place that's gonna be healthy for them.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that definitely people have ailments, there's different diseases and all that, but I think at the end of the day, what you can do, the best physical peak for your personal body is in your hands. You may not look like someone you want to look like, your ideal situation, but you can optimize your body to be the highest performance that you think that you can get to. All right, so very similar to what I said here, I truly do believe that your physique is in your control. A lot of y'all in the comments was eating this up, and some people felt the same way, but some people are like, no, your physique's not completely in your control. If you are born with broad shoulders, and you're gonna have broad shoulders. And yeah, I think that the technicality of it is true, but if you actually listen to what I said that you can optimize your body to be the best that it can be. So I'm not saying that if you are born short, your physique is in your control, naturally you can just become tall. No, but the body that you have, you can optimize it, and I'm proof of that. I am a woman of my word. I talk the talk and I walk the walk. And I completely changed my physique naturally. No supplements, no surgery, anything. I did it truly with just discipline and consistency. So I know that the power that you have when you tap into your mind, when you stop making excuses, and when you really just strive to be better daily. I try to think of myself as having daily wins. And I think, did I win today? And if I didn't win today, how can I win today? So I truly do believe that you can optimize your physique, and that is in your control. If you have an ailment, you can't control that. Outside element that's making you stressed, or your environment, you can't control that. But you can control your body. And I stand by that.
Body positivity can promote unhealthy habits. Will the agreeers please step forward?
Body positivity should have taken another route instead of just saying it's for bigger people, because it's not. It's for all the variety of people that need to accept you're changing.
Yeah, I think the pendulum has switched to the furthest extreme. I think body positivity was created because there wasn't a space for people who could have acceptance in bigger bodies. And I think it's just gone to the furthest extreme now. I still really do stand by what I said. I actually did do additional research to find out like when did the body positivity movement even begin. It began in the 60s as like a fat acceptance movement. That's what the internet is saying. Basically, it was aimed to end fat shaming. So when I said that, I basically think that the pendulum switched. It was created as a space where people felt like they didn't have a voice, they weren't being heard. And now I truly do think that it has, I think some of the original messaging is still within body positivity, but I also think that it's just gone super extreme. And I don't fully believe that it is completely promoting unhealthy habits. I think that just like anything, if you actually look at the comments of the original video, you'll see that the negative ones are just higher up because people are engaging with it, right? But there are a lot of positive comments too. And I think that the movement is very similar, where sometimes what's highlighted is just the negativity around body positivity, where they're just showing people who are morbidly obese and who are eating excessively and gluttonous, and that is what you're seeing. But I don't think that's the entirety of the movement. The thing about body positivity is that it has evolved. As we as humans evolve, so do movement. And then in 2010, body positivity got even more exposure due to plus size models. So it's very important to understand here that these things evolve. Now, can it promote unhealthy habits? Back to the prompt. Like I said, I think that it can to the furthest extreme if you aren't completely educated on what it is. Like if someone is saying that them being gluttonous and them doing mukbangs to the point where they die is body positivity, I wouldn't agree with that.
Have taken a weight loss drug. Will the agreeers please step forward?
What do we define as drug?
I think we're talking about the.
Because everybody's perfect.
I do think it's interesting. I did notice when I watched the episode back, and I don't know if this is a woman thing, probably not, because nothing is just black and white like that. But I do notice that our group in particular had like a lot of qualifying questions. So he would say the prompt, the moderator would say the prompt, and then it was oftentimes like, can you elaborate? And I didn't really see that with the men one, so that is interesting.
I was so obsessed with my body size. I've pretty much my whole life, and that's just the culture, American culture that I was raised in and lived in. And so I would try drastic means, and I've done things that would just get you super wired. Even as an adult, once I figured out how to eat, I gained the weight back during the lockdown, like a lot of people did.
This prompt is, have you ever taken weight loss drugs? And I do think that this prompt was a very interesting prompt. You guys have seen the video, and if you haven't seen the video, spoiler alert, I've never taken any weight loss drugs. I am natural. Like I said, I've lost almost 60 pounds naturally. And yeah, I think that I was really impressed with the girls who did come forward, because if you guys didn't know, we're based in LA. The people in this video are from LA. And being from LA all of my freaking life, there's not a lot of natty people out here, especially within the fitness space. And to each his own, right? But I do think it takes a lot of courage and transparency to come forward and admit that. And I really just like Leah here, she explained, what the culture was and why she did that and how she was feeling. So I thought it was a moment of transparency, and I did really appreciate it. Personally, I don't have any interest in taking any drugs. I think that I'm very competitive by nature, and I'm just constantly trying to up myself, if I'm being transparent. And it just, for me, it feels so good to have lost the weight naturally and that I've accomplished something. And it really just shows how to lock into my mind and how powerful my mind is, because for me, this has been very mental, this weight loss journey. It's not just the physical. I really have to show up as the highest version of myself daily, and it takes a lot. So I thought it was a good prompt, and it was a good question.
Fit women are more attractive than fat women. Will the agreeers please step forward?
I would definitely agree. Fit women are more attractive than plus size women, only because me having this body it shows that I can commit to something, right? And it shows that I'm hardworking, so I feel like men looking at my body can see, oh, okay, she's dedicated.
But the biggest issue I have with what you said, I disagree with you. I think as a fit girl as well, fit girlies, but I still disagree with you because there's beautiful women who are in bigger bodies. Like, I feel like it's an arrogance almost to be like, oh, because I'm fit, I'm more attractive. Like that's, it's ridiculous. And the biggest issue I have was what you said about men being attracted to you more just because you're fit. I think that that's basing your worth on a man. And I'm married, as a married woman saying that, I just don't understand what that has to do with the principle of just physical attractiveness.
All right, are fit women more attractive than fat women? This one was, y'all ate it up, scrumdiddlyocious, okay? Y'all were overeating on this comment, okay? So shout out to Dana, she's hella cool. I actually follow her after this episode. So fit girlies unite, okay? We're not against each other. I did disagree with her with what she said. I still truly stand by what I said. When I'm thinking about attractiveness, I'm thinking about face. I'm thinking about body. I'm thinking about your aura. I truly am thinking about all of it together. And I just personally think that just because you are fit doesn't mean that you're just more attractive based on that solely. Like if you have two people, two models, whatever, and one's fit and one's fat, I'm not gonna automatically think that model A is more attractive just because they're fit. I may look at model B and be like, yo, that's a baddie. Like she's super attractive. So I understand a lot of people in the comments were like, hands down, fitness is way more attractive than fat people and yada, yada, yada. Y'all were just freaking going in. And I think that being healthy, yes, it's attractive, right? You want to be healthy. You want to be able to look at someone and see that they take care of themselves. But there's plenty of people in fat bodies who are attractive. So I think that the question's kind of loaded. And I just genuinely don't believe that just because you are fit, you're more attractive. Because let's be honest, there are plenty of people who are thin, who are fit, whatever, who just aren't attractive at all. So, like, it's beyond me at this point. I think that we're gonna have to agree to disagree. And I think it's just a loaded question in general. And I guess when I'm thinking about that question, I'm genuinely thinking about like two types of people. And I know for me, just in my life, there's thin people in my life, there's fit people in my life, there's fat people in my life. And it just doesn't mean that you're more attractive just because you're thin. And yes, like I said, shout out to Dana, she's hella cool. And what's interesting about this prompt is, it really just comes down to where you find value with attractiveness. And I think this is a really good question. My husband was asking me this once I got home and I talked to him about everything. So is attractiveness, and I'm asking you guys, is attractiveness based solely on what others view of you, or is attractiveness how you view yourself? Because if attractiveness is how the mainstream world, society views you, then probably fit is gonna be more attractive because society doesn't like fat people. Like, let's be honest, society doesn't like anything, but they really don't like people that are in bigger bodies. So I don't know, it's convoluted, it's complicated. You guys may not think it's complicated, you may think it's black and white, it's simple, but I don't. I think it's layered.
Let's bring in our disagreeers. More disagreeers than I expected.
I completely disagree. I think we all forgot what modeling industry has done for women in our society. I think we kind of went blank for a second. I'm a journalism major, I have my degree in journalism, and growing up with certain magazines, and those women, just because they were thin does not mean they were healthy. Have y'all ever seen America's Next Top Model?
Yes.
There's a lot of detrimental things that were happening within that society, within that community. And I agree with you, yes, we all want to look at something aesthetically pleasing, but that varies. Also, the modeling industry is known for not being diverse.
Right.
Hello. So I don't know, we just like blacked out for a second.
It's very diverse now.
Now.
It was not when I started.
Yeah, but
was
it's
not.
not that diverse now either. It's evolving, but I wouldn't go as far as saying it's that diverse.
Okay, so the prompt here is, it's okay for models to set high standards for body image. Like what I said there is how I genuinely feel. And I think that I communicated really effectively. I understand what the other girls were saying, that there's various different levels of modeling, and it's okay to have those high standards because that's what they're set for, they're models, and this is what you attribute to. But I truly do believe that overall it can just be very toxic, and especially in the 90s and early 2000s. Like if you actually look back at some of those campaigns, some of those shows, I think with open new eyes, I genuinely think that you will see what I'm talking about. As I mentioned in the video, like I have my degree in journalism. I remember studying journalism in school, and we had multiple assignments where we would have to do things with like magazine covers and things like that. And in the early 2000s, they weren't even, back in the day with modeling, they weren't even revealing that these photo shoots were Photoshopped, that this was altered. And you have to understand what that can do to someone's mind at a very young age. If you're an adolescent young woman and you're idolizing these models and these figures, and they don't even look like the way that they are showing that they look like. I think it's very similar to now where people can alter videos on Instagram and things like that, and people are showing like, hey, this is not a real body, and people get really upset. They're like, you need to, there's even a thing now, if you use AI, that you have to identify that it's AI. And I think that eventually people who alter their photos are going to have to identify, or their videos have to identify that they're doing so. You feel like you're being lied to. And I think that that's my biggest issue, is if the lack of transparency behind the modeling industry in the early 90s and early 2000s. And I think that it can be very damaging. Now, if they would have been more forward with it, people can make their own decisions about how they want to consume that content. But I don't know. I think that bodies are vast and they're different. And I just think that having one depiction of something is just, I don't agree with that at all. I get there's people who make comments like, well, obviously fabric is expensive, and the less fabric that's being used for the models, the better. That's why models are so thin. And I think that you can get a few more pieces of fabric. I think that it's not going to hurt to have more range. Now, I get that there are certain industries for certain things. Like, I personally feel like if you are in an industry, like if you're a cop, if you're a fireman, you should be healthy, right? You should be fit. But there's so many of those individuals that aren't. And I think that some people's argument is that, oh, you're in the model industry, you should be thin. But I don't know if that's really an argument or if that's just what we've known for so long. So there's that.
Abused my body. Will the agreeers step forward?
Personally, for me, I've always suffered with anxiety and depression since I was young. I haven't grown up in the best areas. I used to self-harm in different ways. I suffered with like purging and everything, and like actual like physically cutting myself. Sometimes I even tempted to like burn myself. When I look in the mirror, I'm just like, what is wrong with you? And I was 13, 12, and around this time, I did not like the way I look. I'm not happy right now. And like the only thing I have control of, because I don't have money, I can control what I can do to myself.
This prompt, what have been the most valuable tools or resources in your life to not abuse your body?
I think of like the highest version of myself, and I try to show up as her every single day. When I have dark thoughts or when things are hard, I'm like, okay, the highest version of Alyssa, like she's a baddie, she's disciplined, you know, she loves herself, and I kind of show up as her.
Whew. This prompt was heavy. If you haven't seen the episode yet, go watch the prompt. If you haven't seen the episode, go watch it. This prompt is, I have abused my body. First of all, regardless of what you may think, I think that it takes an immense amount of courage for these women to come forward and be so transparent. I think one of the vastly difference between the guys' episode and our episode, some people love it, some people hate it, but the difference is that I feel like we had a lot more empathy. Some people really hate that. They just want the drama. Everybody's like, where's Myron? But I, as a woman and being on this panel, I really did appreciate just the openness. Like, this is some real issues that happen. I think that people don't understand that it's not just about fit and fat, right? Our bodies and what we go through with our bodies has a direct indication, has a direct effect on our mental health, on how we interact with other people. Like, it's not just work out and do better. And this is coming from a person that is like, no excuses, grind, mow, lock in. But I'm also very self-aware and know that things do get deeper and there are hard times and people are dealing with mental health issues. So I just want to say a huge shout out to my panelists, my ladies who shared their stories, because sitting there and having these women be so transparent, it truly was beautiful. And it was hard not to get choked up when someone is just being so forthcoming. Like I said in the episode, I truly do show up as the highest version of myself. And I'm not perfect, no one is. We all have dark moments. You really don't know what people are going through. So just to look at a 45-minute video and think that you know someone is asinine. But when I do have those moments, I really do try to lock in and think about the version of me that I want to show up as. And I know that the highest version of myself is confident, doesn't let the darkness succumb her, and she rises to the occasion. And it doesn't always, it's not like a magic cheat code and I just think of the highest version of myself and I'm just, ready to conquer my world. But I truly do think a change in mindset and adapting that into your lifestyle daily, showing up as the highest version of yourself can help. Because the highest version of you wouldn't want to succumb to that darkness. They would want to try to find light. They would try to do things to make them feel better and that are healthy, that pour into them and not take away from them. So what I said here is very honest to what I do on my daily day. And I will say, for me personally, fitness has really helped me come out of a lot of the darkness that I've had in my life. When I weighed over 235 pounds here, I was getting to the point where I genuinely just wasn't happy in my body. I felt kind of like a prisoner, if I'm being honest. And I'm tall and I carry weight differently, but it got to the point where I would wake up in the morning and my legs were like numb. Consistently, I would say almost every day. And at first I was like, oh dang, maybe I just slept wrong on my legs. But I started to realize once I started losing weight and becoming more mobile and moving my body, that completely went away. I don't have that issue at all anymore. And when I was overweight, it was leading to a lot of my unhappiness because it wasn't just fat on my body. It was how I perceived myself. I wasn't very mobile. I wasn't moving my body. I wasn't going outside. So many factors that play into it. So fitness honestly has saved me. And I'm so grateful to it because going to the gym, working out, being healthy, fitness is the one thing that the effort that you put in is what you get back. I mean, there's so many times in our lives that we give so much effort to something and you don't really see a return on it. But with fitness, for me, I've seen the return 10,000 times over and I'm forever grateful. All right, well, before, I say my goodbyes, I wanted to share some of the comments here on the screen. Some of y'all are really, really mean. I think that the moderator saying the prompt, like, if you're saying something negative, you're part of the problem. I think that egged people on even more because people are like, don't you tell me what to do. But I just want to encourage anyone who's watching this, who is a content creator, who does put themselves out there, who receives negative comments, do not listen to that. You have to be very secure with who you are and know that most people are just unhappy. And that's just a fact. Like, they are miserable and they want to share their misery with other people. And for some people, it's like a dopamine hit. They say something really mean and vile and they feel like in that moment, they're taking that toxicity out of them and they're putting it onto you. But you have to realize that that's them. It has nothing to do with you oftentimes. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you are getting negative comments, to my fellow ladies in the video who also receive negative comments, it's okay. Like, everyone has an opinion, but you have to know who you are. And I know who I am. I know what I bring to this world. I know my value. I know where I'm going. So it's all good. Some people are really positive, and I think sometimes we focus just on the negative, but you have to shed light to the positive ones too. Like this person said here, Alyssa Holy, you're a dream of a woman. Thank you. I am married, so just so you know, but I appreciate it. That was very sweet. And I think that people take the time to write a comment, like a thoughtful one, a nice one. It's really nice. Like they didn't have to do that. Someone said, go Alyssa, go Alyssa. Someone said, wish I could clap at everything Alyssa said. She's so respectful and educated. Thank you, Fred. I appreciate you. All right, let's get into some of the nasty ones. And people have been calling me the 4 a.m.er because I mentioned that I do work out. I get up in the morning at 4 a.m., which is 1,000% true. You can follow me on Instagram and see that. And I kind of like it, the 4 a.m.er. It kind of has a ring to it. I think you're trying to offend me, but I'm into it. Someone said the 4 a.m. exerciser is probably sacrificing sleep, which is also important. This wasn't really that negative. I think this is factual. Sometimes I don't get all the sleep that I need, but I'm very mindful. I'm very intentional with my body. I try to go to bed by like 9 p.m. and I wake up at 4. So yeah, that amount of sleep usually works for me. Like on nights that I push it to 11, obviously, which I rarely do that, but I'm not perfect. Definitely need more sleep, but I'm very tuned in with my body. I know that I want to recover and be stronger, so I do optimize sleep. I also think that it's ridiculous to say, I make the time and access so you can too. When no, that's not true. You get up at 4 a.m. to work out. Fantastic. I felt the sarcasm behind that. Fantastic. The mom working full-time job, going to school and raising her kids already gets 5 hours of sleep at night. So you think that she should cut that sleep to 3 hours to work out. Just because you aren't seeing these situations doesn't mean they don't exist. And thinking that way is one of the most ignorant ways you can think. Whew, they told me. I still 100% disagree with you. There are plenty of fit mothers. Shout out to the moms out there. I plan on being a mother one day. And guess what? I promise you, I will continue to be fit and work out because I've been building it for years and I will continue to build it. There's plenty of women who are fit, who are mothers. And I think that at the end of the day, you make time for what you want to make time for. A lot of people have different lifestyles. People have issues, people have schedules that are very hectic. My husband's a filmmaker, he's a director. Sometimes he's on set for 12-hour days. I get it. I'm not saying that it's not hard. And I think that's my biggest frustration with a lot of the comments within this video. It's like, or even some of my fellow castmates, it's like, it's hard. Yes, embrace it. It's going to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy. That doesn't mean it's not possible. It doesn't. And I think that you may have to pivot your schedule. You may not be able to get up at 4 a.m. like me. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you have to do it after work. Maybe you can only do it at home. Maybe it looks like for you, it's just a 15-minute walk after you eat. But movement is so important, especially as we get older. I think people do not realize that we are getting older. And if you aren't moving your body, if you aren't focusing on some type of activity, your body is literally going to deteriorate. It's a fact. It happens all the time with older people. You can find an excuse or you can find a way. And I stand by that. I'm not saying it's not going to be hard. I'm not saying that you can't pivot. I'm not saying that it may take you 2 to 3 weeks to figure out your schedule, but it can be done. It absolutely can be done. I did 75 hard, I completed it. The real 75 hard, I will do a video about fake 75 harders out there. And I got sick during 75 hard. I had a sinus infection for around 3 weeks. I didn't even realize that I had a sinus infection, but it was just so bad. But I still completed 75 hard. I still did my 2 workouts a day because for me, it wasn't an option. And you can feel how you want to feel about that, but that's on the real. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and chilling with me. And I hope that you enjoy the Jubilee video. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, and I hope I made a fan out of you. I hope you get to understand me a little bit more. If you're interested in following me along my fitness journey, make sure you follow me. My social handles will be provided below, and I'll have it here as well. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.